Do you know that the world has changed? And do you know where you fit in the new picture? You should not be surprised to see that if we break it down, then we are all just back in the same naturalistic environment that we were supposed to be in more than 2,000 years ago.
The lions hide in the bushes. They suddenly approached the zebra herd. When the distance was close enough, the lion began to accelerate and pounce on the nearby zebra.
Case in point, do you know that research indicates that we form an impression of someone in less than 1/10 of a second, and once that impression is formed, it is very difficult for that impression to change. I repeat, less than 1/10 of 1 second. So, what did your boss and colleagues think of you when they saw you for the first time? And what do they think of you now? Nonsense, you may say. This is not me. I am not judgmental. However, if a fierce lion ran into your office or your boardroom right now and roared, none of you would wait to see if he was a friendly lion or not. Your adrenaline would pump and you would run over your colleague to get out of the door. If the lion ran into your boardroom, then the directors would not queue to let the chairman of the board, who is the oldest and wisest, get out first. Interesting story. A wise old zebra told a young, energetic zebra that if he sees a lion, he should run as fast as he could. The young, energetic zebra thought to himself, I don't need to run as fast as I can. I just need to run faster than you. And thus, this is how we are wired even today. So, how does this play out in the world that we call the corporate arena, and how does it affect our interactions with each other? Simplistically, the answer is in the understanding of where you fit in the food chain. This video is a promised post from my eminent website called vivek.co.za. The tagline is provoking thought to enlighten, simmer, resonate, and maybe inspire action. The website contains technical information such as how to get real-time annual financial statements from any accounting package, no matter how big or how small. A YouTube video showing the bespoke model I have built to achieve this is on the site. A full demo is available. Now, the reason I am saying this is because Tesla has fallen billions of dollars in a few months. In addition to this, we will be focusing on providing inspirational and motivational content. And yes, we as chartered accountants can do inspirational and artistic and motivational. We should not just be put in a box and told that we only have a left brain and are constrained to be boring, mathematical, technical, and analytical. We can do creative too. And like with everything else we do, we can do it extremely well. This brings me to the next important point. Stock indices have lost trillions of dollars, and the situation is dire. It is like a tsunami about to hit a surfer who is happily surfing, unaware that conditions have changed. When new and fresh news breaks, which is every single day, we cannot leave it to the economists, the analysts, the news readers, and the editors to interpret the news for us. Chartered accountants are the experts. People look to us. We cannot remain silent, and perhaps our profession needs to evolve. If we focus only on the rearview mirror whilst we are steering a car in these tumultuous conditions, then it is akin to going to a heart surgeon on the 4th of April because you had a sharp pain in your chest and are concerned about having a heart attack. The heart surgeon then pulls out a glossy 100-page report and informs you that as of 31 December 2024, you were perfectly healthy and normal. Sounds ludicrous, right? But is this what we, as a profession, are doing? As of right now, the world is rapidly changing, and our profession has a responsibility to inform the public that the consequences of these changes will hit our shores, if it has not already done so, and it will happen imminently. There's been a talk of 2 billion rand as a result of the tariffs to South Africa. And as South Africa, we are squarely being targeted by the most powerful person in the world, who wants to drag us onto the world stage to make a statement on race. And so, today's video begins with a very important topic of the corporate narrative, what nature tells us. In summary, it tells us that the shareholders are the lions, and the rest of us, whoever we are food for the lions. We are the zebra and the deer. The fact that the most intelligent 1 to 2% of the zebra amongst us have been singled out to fatten up the herd and the rest of the deer and zebra so that the lions can be fed does not mean that the smartest 1 to 2% are still not zebra. They are very much zebra. And if they do not perform their objective of increasing shareholder wealth, the lions will not hesitate to tear them to shreds and replace them with another smart zebra. It is a brutal world out there, and perhaps this video should cause you to think about exactly where you fit and the impact of your job. Because if you're not increasing shareholder wealth in everything you do and in every meeting you are attending, you are not fulfilling the role you are required to play in this jungle called the corporate environment and the corporate arena. Why do we need to be aware of this? Simplistically, because it affects the very fabric of your foundation, you and your family. You have a responsibility to make them aware of the reality of the system of the world, which is invisible but very much powerful. You cannot fulfill that responsibility if you are not aware. And make no mistake, the powers that be, the lions, they don't want you to be aware. They prefer you to be in your cubicle or your open planned office, happily doing the same job that you did last year and just increasing profit and meeting the 10% increase on last year's budget. However, the entire fabric, as I have said, of the World Economic Forum is being ripped apart at its foundation even as we speak. When I did my MBA, the opening paragraph of the strategy textbooks on the topic of globalization was that the world has now become a smaller place as technology has advanced, and we are now all one as one big happy family, all functioning as different organs of a body. So if one country was good or exceptional at making certain things, we should all let that company do that job, and the rest of us should then buy from that company. In this way, every company then focuses on their speciality, and there was a free and happy trade between each country so that we all move closer together in harmony. A very pretty picture indeed, where, for example, South Africa reduced its textile industry because China could produce fabrics and clothes cheaper and at better quality, etc. The apple cart was perfectly set for a number of years. This was the world order. But now, here comes Donald Trump, the leader of the most powerful nation of the world, who has the support of his people, and he has thrown the MBA strategy textbooks into the fire and out the window with his protectionist policies and tariffs to make America great and wealthy again. Trump in America are not playing nice. They are throwing a tantrum. They are throwing the toys out of the cot. Sweeping tariffs have been introduced, with the entire world being hit with tariffs. For example, China 54%, South Africa 30%. The reason was to bring factories and production home to, as he says, make America great and wealthy again. Now, what is a tariff? It is not a tax on the people, right? It just means that it becomes more expensive for companies to make products and to make things. So this does not affect us as consumers, right? It is a company problem. However, as you will see below, the lions or the shareholders of the companies do not sit with a bigger and higher cost in reducing profits. They will never do that. So what do? They pass those higher costs on to the consumers in the form of higher prices. So it does become a tax on the people, and very much so a tax on the people. But wait, just wait for one instance. It then means that Americans will stop buying foreign goods and buy locally produced goods, right? So isn't the tariffs achieving the objective? And the objective is tariffs are placed on foreign goods so that the Americans place local goods. However, research shows that when the shareholders of the American companies see the prices of their competitors' goods increasing, they see a chance to feast as lions do, and they do not then hesitate to raise their prices as well to trap a greater profit than before. So guess who pays the higher prices? The consumer does. So the tariffs get passed on to the consumers, the zebras in the story below, while the shareholders get richer, having trapped higher profits. The rule is that the laws of nature do not change. And incidentally, when are the MBA textbooks going to change to indicate that globalization, as we all bought into, is now no more? Will economists come up with a new branch of economics called Trumponomics, because it is a new school of thought altogether? One thing is certain: the world as we knew it yesterday has changed today, and someone needs to be rapidly rewriting the textbooks, because we are in uncharted territory. I would like you to keep this in mind as we delve into this video called The Corporate Narrative: What Nature Tells Us.
The big males make a contribution and possess crucial skills, such as perfecting the art of the nap. It's not his fault. He's hot, with all that extra fur and bulk. He does take a few jobs seriously, though, like defending the pride against intruders and joining in a hunt when his bulk is needed. But he's not the best tactician. Hiding his heft doesn't always work. Strategy, stealth, and speed are left to the experts. Today, one of the best super pride hunters is tantalized by zebra. But zebra possess keen senses and defenses. They use their powerful back legs against friend and foe alike. Lions and zebras can both reach top speeds up to 35 miles per hour. But the zebra can run for longer. The lioness combines power and speed, but she lacks endurance. She can only run at her top speed for about 300 feet. So she needs to get close and surprise her prey.
Business versus nature, the corporate narrative. This video is a short synopsis of a larger picture. Please note that when I asked Gemini AI, which is part of YouTube, can I post a YouTube video showing the gap between the rich and the poor and how high interest rates are causing people to suffer, this was the response from Gemini AI. This query violates the policy against generating content related to sensitive public interest topics, specifically finance and lending practices. This prompt focuses on high interest rates, loans, and suffering, suggesting a connection to predatory lending practices of financial hardship, which are sensitive topics. Additionally, the reference to a few people could be interpreted as a lack of reasonable sensitivity towards a group or class of individuals. Disclaimer. Heads up. The following video contains discussions of complex economic and social issues. Please review the complete disclaimer at the end of the video for important information. Nonetheless, this is about comparing the business world to nature. The stark similarities cannot be ignored, even though we all have different beliefs about God, and I am in no way trying to convince anyone to agree with my views. One cannot, however, ignore the following. They say that man is made in the image of God. If that is true, where are the similarities? Here are just a few. Number one, God made us with a brain, whereby it has been proven that we only use 10% of our brain, with 90% being unutilized. So do we do the same thing? Answer, yes. The Sony PlayStation 3 has so much of potential that developers have not even scratched the surface of its full potential. Number two, we build cars that can achieve over 200 kilometers an hour. However, have you ever seen any speed limits over 120 kilometers an hour? So why don't we just limit cars to a speed of 120 kilometers per hour? We don't, and we won't, because we want the extra unused potential. God's presence is all around us, like a fragrance. If there is, it is there, but we cannot see it. However, if you connect to Him, a whole new world opens up for you. Man, on the other hand, has created Wi-Fi. It is all around us, and we can choose to ignore it, as some do. However, if we put out our feelers and turn on Wi-Fi, you can connect to Wi-Fi and then you're on the web and have access to a whole new world on the net. Look all around you. There are numerous examples where we can see that we are made in God's image. And with the things around us and the way man has created it, it cannot be denied. Such as God has a purpose for all of our lives, but He allows us to stray off course, knowing that no matter how many wrong turns we take, we will eventually get to our destination. Case in point, in the Bible, God told Jonah that he should go to Nineveh, but he didn't listen and deliberately went the other way. But eventually, Jonah got to Nineveh, even though God had to use a whale to get him there. Read Jonah chapter 1 and verses 1 to 2. Similarly, man has made navigation systems such as Google Maps, and the directions say turn right. And if the directions say turn left and you turn left each time, the system does not shout at you. It just recalculates, knowing that eventually it will get you to your destination. Even if you travel from Johannesburg to Cape Town and you ignore the navigation and move towards Durban, your navigation will calmly recalculate, knowing that it will eventually get you to Cape Town, no matter how far you are away from it. Man designed the system to do this. Unknowingly, he was just replicating God's character with the methodology, creativity, and innovation. God created the universe with all its complexity and beauty. Similarly, humans are creators, whether through art, music, technology, or architecture. Our ability to imagine and create reflects the divine spark within us. Order and governance. God established natural order and order for the universe. Humans in turn have created systems of governance and laws to maintain social order and ensure justice. Our legal and political systems reflect our desire for fairness and stability. So thus, we can conclude that our hypothesis that man is made in the image of God proves true. Armed with this knowledge, how can we prove that the business world is no different to nature? Just to note, I, as you can see, have belief in the Bible and the existence of God in everything I do. I wake up every morning praying, thank you God for everything I have, and I know that if it were not for you, I would have nothing, whether it be qualifications, money in the bank, or food on the table. In contrast, people who do not believe in God then have to believe that it is all about them, and the qualifications, job, food on the table, etc. is all due to their own brilliance. So, one day, I spoke to someone who does not believe in God, a highly qualified and intelligent individual, and he said to me that when he needs to relax, to unwind and take away all the stress and negative issues in his life, at any point in time he goes for a walk in nature, such as a forest or a beach or hike a mountain trail. He connects with nature, and just seeing the beauty and balance of nature grounds and relaxes him. Again, we are saying the business world is no different to nature. So let's begin our analysis. This is the laws of nature. There is a food chain. Animals such as zebra and deer eat grass. Once these animals are fattened up, the lions eat the deer and the zebra. Now, sorry for mentioning zebra. I could have used deer or any other animal that is prey for lions. In no way is the use of deer or zebra meant to draw any parallel with any institution or entity. It is just an example to illustrate a point. It is a law of nature. It is brutal, it is vicious, but it is not questioned. Nobody says, bad lion, naughty lion, why did you kill, hurt, and eat the zebra? It was not nice for the zebra. Reason being that the natural order of things needs to be observed. When the lion is hungry, which is often, he will kill and he will eat. Please excuse the graphic nature of the video below, but I need to make this point, and you may feel offended about the way you feel about this. However, right now, lions are hunting their prey, and this is happening as a normal course of events. Okay, as you can see, this is brutal. However, it is majestic and it is powerful. It is nature in action to preserve the natural order of things. This is all well and good. But how do we find a similarity between this and the business world? Glad you asked, because here is the parallel. In the business world, there is also a food chain. There is also brutality, and all of us are involved in the business world as role players in some way or the other. We assume a part. We are knowingly or unknowingly participating. So, just like in the business world, there are lions and there are zebra and deer who provide food for the lions. The lions are the shareholders, the rich. They are the most intelligent. They are not the most intelligent. They are not the most intelligent in the natural world. And indeed, there are zebra that are more intelligent than them, and they know that. An interesting fact is that the lion and the zebra can both run at the same top speed. However, the zebra can run at that top speed for much longer than the lion. No, you have not heard incorrectly. The zebra can outrun the lion. So, in a foot race, the zebra wins. Now, why are the zebra? Who are the zebra in this analogy? It is you and me, workers in the corporate world. Workers, whether you be top management, senior management, middle management, or junior management. Who is the grass? It is the rest of the population. Make no mistake, we are in our job positions to serve the interest of the shareholders. We all know that the shareholders are the most important stakeholders in business. It has been drummed into us from day one. It is chapter 1 of all our textbooks. They are the lions. They are there to be fed. If any part of the business does not meet the needs of the shareholders, it will be cut. It will be slaughtered. So we now know that we are the zebra, and we are there to serve the interest of the lions. Who said the shareholders should get a benchmark return of 25% because they stand last in the queue in the event of liquidations? Who says that bank funding rates should be prime plus when banks are able to fund from the central bank at a much lower rate of JIBOR? All this is that it does is it creates a buffer for banks to make money. Who says that the markup on retail is 400% and the cost of employees is 25%? Who says that the National Credit Act, which links the rate to which some lenders lend to their clients, is close to 30%, whilst this is funded at close to 9%? That's a 20-odd% margin. However, that's the law. And if you want an unsecured loan, even as a student loan, close to 30% is what you should expect to pay. These unsecured loans are selling like hotcakes because people at the bottom need to buy things. And the only way they can survive is to borrow money, which lenders are very happy to lend them. This means that the gap between rich and poor gets wider and wider. I'll tell you who says it. The textbooks does. The theory that we all had to learn and accept without question. Please note that we are not allowed to talk about this. This is the point where it becomes very interesting. The similarity between the shareholders, the lions, and their prey, the zebra, is astounding. However, at the top of the food chain is man. Why? Because we have an intelligence and an ability to communicate that no animal can come close to. Using that intelligence, the shareholders, the lions, know that they cannot outrun the zebra. So what do? They look into the pack of the zebra and they identify the most smart and the most intelligent zebras and appoint them into positions with the jobs of fattening up the other zebra and presenting this to the rest of the zebras so that they can be presented to the lions that can feast during any type of work. They will relax, travel the world, and take their kids on holiday. It is a marvelous plan. However, do we have evidence to support this? You see the writers of the textbooks indicating a 25% return for shareholders, and the gap between bank funding and lending rates and setting the National Credit Act close to 30% is the work of the smart zebra. The entire system is then in the hands of the smartest zebra in our pack, the 1 to 2% in the matric class. Everything they do is unwittingly designed to fatten up the herd. They are responsible for increasing share prices. So when the rich look at their portfolios at the end of the day, the amount of their portfolios is just increasing. There is no room for empathy in the system. For example, when a company announces a massive part of the workforce will be retrenched, the share price of that company actually goes up. The smart zebra have been identified by the education system, and if they are in the top brackets, they will be placed in the position of power and have the ability to influence. Now, make no mistake, if these smart zebra get it wrong and don't provide the 25% return for their shareholders, they will be whipped out of their position and replaced with someone smart who can do the job. This is why even CEOs get replaced, because they are not deemed to be the person who should be navigating the company at that particular point in time. Incidentally, both Steve Jobs and Elon Musk were fired from their positions as CEOs for this very reason. They were not deemed to be the person who should be navigating their company or the company at this particular point in time. So, even all CEOs in our listed and unlisted companies are not immune to the system that is in place. The principle is that there is no job security for anyone, and we have been taught that everyone is replaceable. Now, let's delve into this a little deeper, because this is mind-boggling. If it is true, the shareholder who is on a yacht somewhere sailing the world doesn't want to know this. Why? Because he doesn't need to know this. He has left it up to the smartest zebra to come up with these rules, which are the cornerstones of the principles of what we are taught. That we must always remember that equity is the most important source of funding, that the risk report must be green, so after a risk is identified, it needs to be in the board pack, and most times the person who identified it is the person responsible for changing it from red to green. I am going to focus on just one sector to further illustrate this point: the education system. You will undoubtedly think of more, such as human psychology, who says that people should be classified as introvert or extrovert and put into boxes that they are placed into, the right jobs to maximize their job function. Now, let's focus on the education system. How does the above picture align with how the education system is currently working? Here it is. When I was in primary school, when it came to reading, the teacher grouped the kids in our class into different groups. Those who were very quick and were able to read fluently were placed in group A. Those who were slower and needed more help were placed in group D. They could read and had the same books. However, the teacher gave them more attention and more assistance and went slower with them. That worked very well. However, today, I am alarmed to find out that even in grade R, before school, 5-year-olds are being singled out for having not normal behavior, and parents are being called into the schools and told, you either, number 1, send your child to a clinical psychologist assessment at your own cost. Number 2, get a facilitator to look after your child in the class while the teacher is busy with the other children. Number 3, send your child to a special school. Number 4, consider taking your child to a child psychiatrist where he or she will be placed again on medication. P.S. I have witnessed such a scenario because these were the 4 options someone I know was given. His 5-year-old child was breaking Legos instead of building it in class, and this was considered to be abnormal behavior. So that child was earmarked for removal from the school. The teacher called a meeting with the parents and the principal, where all the options were laid out for their 5-year-old. I repeat, the 5-year-old. Whatever happened to children being children? Fortunately, that family chose option 5. That is to move the child who hadn't even started grade 1 yet to another school. Today, that child is performing perfectly normal and excelling socially on the sports field and academically. However, he could have been forced into a special school. So what am I saying? The education system is being tampered with, teaching children that they need to keep their eyes open to find any kids that are not being normal as per a normal definition, and then shift them out. Because the teacher's role in the new world is not to look after a D group of students who are a bit slow. It is to focusedly square on group A who are very quick and need to be looked after. It is considered that if the teacher spends time on the group D, then the teacher is depriving the smartest and the quickest children in group A. So the intelligent 1% zebra, who are responsible for rounding up and feeding the herd, came up with this temper in the education system. Reason being that it is much more efficient and their focus is on finding just the very smart who can move into the 1 to 2% category where they are. Now, being in the 1 to 2% category means that these kids will get 7, 8 or 9 distinctions in grade 12. And if you look at the interviews that they give in the media, most of them are going into careers such as actuarial science or engineering, etc. Let's just look at actuarial science. Just to get into study, it means that you need to be out of this world brilliant, a flair for the mathematical and the analytical. They sit in their dark rooms and come up with new life insurance policies and do the background calculations to find those new policies that will look great on the outside and are offered to the general public. However, their advanced algorithms and models in the background takes into things like life expectancy, smoking, health conditions, etc., all with the end game of making sure that the policy will bring in much more money than what it pays out. The exact requirement of the shareholder, the lions, let me feast. Now, this brings me to another point. I had a discussion with a group risk officer who is an actuary and had an army of actuaries reporting to him. He indicated that it was the most difficult thing to manage these people because they have such strange personalities. This is probably a topic for another day. However, research suggests that with extreme intelligence come social integration issues. Elon Musk said that he has bipolar disorder, extreme highs and extreme lows, as well as Asperger's syndrome. Other great leaders have also indicated mental health issues. Before I step off the education topic, I want to say one more thing. Research indicates that the workforces are indicating to universities that students coming out of university are not ready for the workforce. Universities in turn have indicated to schools that children coming out of school are not ready for university. So the onus has been placed on schools to correct the situations, because we cannot have the 1 to 2% who identify to increase shareholders' returns not being ready for the workforce. I have thus seen schools implementing policies such that students as young as 9 years old need to pack their books into a locker, go to their locker at the end of each lesson and get their books for the next subject, and then go to the teacher's classroom ready for the next lesson. Suffice to say, we have seen students throw up their hands in despair with tears in their eyes because at that young age they are overwhelmed. Whatever happened to teachers coming to students who wait in their own classrooms? You can now see how this achieves the purpose of making children more organized at a young age, so that when they move into the workforce one day, they are organized and ready to hit the ground running to increase returns for the shareholders. Begs the question, what happens to those who are not organized and those who are not in the top 1 to 2%? Again, this is a topic for another day, but for now, they become the feast, the rest of the herd for the lions. Disclaimer: the views and opinions in this video titled The Corporate Narrative, What Nature Tells Us, as you can see, you need to see this, are solely those of the creator and do not necessarily reflect the views of any other individual or entity. This video is intended for informational and educational purposes only, focusing on general principles and observations without economic systems and societal trends. Sensitive content notice. This video may discuss sensitive topics related to economic systems, societal trends, and the challenges faced by individuals in various economic and social situations. The creator acknowledges the complexity of these issues and aims to foster open discussion with critical thinking. The use of the zebra and images of a zebra in this video is purely for illustrative purposes and is not intended to represent or endorse any company, entity, or brand. Any resemblance to the branding of any company or any other organization is purely coincidental. This video does not contain any images or videos of children. The creator recognizes the importance of protecting the privacy and well-being of minors and adheres to all the applicable guidelines and regulations regarding their depiction. Disclaimer continued. No endorsement or financial advice. This video does not provide financial advice, endorse any specific financial product or service, or make any claims about the practices of any particular company or industry. Any examples used are hypothetical and for illustrative purposes. No disclosure of confidential information. The creator has no intention of disclosing any confidential or proprietary information related to any past or present employer. Any experiences or observations shared are generalized and do not refer to any specific company or individual. Accuracy of information. While this video may reference publicly available data and information, no claims are made as to the accuracy or completeness of such data. The creator encourages viewers to conduct their own independent research and consult with qualified professionals before making any financial decisions. Purpose of the video. This video is not intended to promote any specific political or social agenda. The creator aims to foster open discussion and critical thinking about the topics presented. Any resemblance to actual persons, companies, or events is purely coincidental. By viewing this video, you acknowledge and agree to the terms of this disclosure. Thank you.